Is this the turning point? Is this the moment where the Toronto Raptors finally prove they're not just a feel-good story, but a legitimate force in the Eastern Conference? Because what we just witnessed in Indianapolis wasn't just a win, it was a statement, a demolition, a masterclass in balanced basketball that left the Indiana Pacers looking absolutely helpless on their home court. The Raptors didn't just beat the Pacers, they bludgeoned them 129 to 111. And honestly, this is insane when you look at how they did it. 7 players in double figures, 7. Barrett and Jakob Poeltl dropping 22 points apiece like it's nothing. Brandon Ingram adding 19. Scotty Barnes doing Scotty Barnes things with 14 points and 11 rebounds. This wasn't a one-man show. This was a symphony. And the Pacers, they had no answers. None. Stick around, because we're about to break down why this victory might be the most important win of Toronto's season so far, and why it should have every other team in the league paying attention. What's up, Raptors Nation? Quick Court coming in hot with some incredible news that's going to make your Sunday morning absolutely beautiful. Your Toronto Raptors just wrapped up their 5-game road trip with a dominant 129 to 111 victory over the Indiana Pacers. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this might be the most complete performance we've seen all season long. We went 4-1 on this road trip. 4-1. We're now 8-5 overall and 6-3 on the road. Are you kidding me right now? Here's my question for you right off the bat. When was the last time you saw 7 Raptors players scoring in double digits? When was the last time you saw this kind of balanced attack where defenses literally couldn't figure out who to stop? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I need to know. Are we watching the Raptors become the team we all hoped they'd be this season? And stick around until the end, because I'm going to show you exactly why this balanced scoring approach is sustainable and why the starting lineup questions might finally be getting some answers. You'll see why Raptors fans should be ecstatic while Pacers fans should be hitting the panic button. Let's talk about this balanced attack, and I mean really talk about it. Because what the Raptors did on Saturday night in Indianapolis was nothing short of spectacular. Barrett, 22 points on 9 of 1-7 shooting with 3 triples. Jakob Poeltl, 22 points on an absurd 8 of 9 shooting. Brandon Ingram, 19 points. Scotty Barnes, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Emmanuel Quickly, 12 points. Sandro Mamukilashvili, 12 points. Colin Murray-Boyles, 10 points. 7 players in double figures. Do you understand how impossible that makes you to defend? The Pacers couldn't load up on Barrett because Poeltl was eating them alive in the paint. They couldn't sag off shooters because Ingram was drilling mid-range jumpers. They couldn't focus on Barnes because Quickly and the bench unit were going nuclear. Here's where this gets really interesting. Remember when I talked about how Barrett was seeing help defenders on 86% of his drives, the highest rate in the entire NBA coming into this game? Well, guess what happened when 7 different Raptors are scoring threats? Those help defenders disappeared. Seas parting, Barrett got to the rim, Poeltl got dunks, the offense flowed. Do you see the difference between a balanced attack and a one-man show? Drop a comment. Have you ever seen the Raptors this balanced offensively? Can we talk about Jakob Poeltl for a second? Because this man was absolutely sensational. 22 points on 8 of 9 shooting. 8 of 9. That's an 88.9% field goal percentage. 9 rebounds. And he was doing this against a Pacers team that was desperate for interior defense. Now, I know Poeltl's been dealing with back issues this season. We've seen him miss games. We've seen him struggle early on. But on Saturday night, he looked like the Poeltl we fell in love with last season. The short rolls, the dunker spot cuts, the hook shots. The guy was a fulcrum for the entire offense. Here's the thing that the analytics nerds don't always tell you. When you have a big man who can finish at this kind of efficiency, it changes everything about your offense. Suddenly, your guards don't have to force contested threes. Suddenly, your wings get cleaner driving lanes. Suddenly, the entire offense becomes sustainable. The Raptors more than doubled the Pacers in points in the paint. Let me repeat that. More than doubled. That's not a fluke. That's not luck. That's dominance. That's physicality. That's having a legitimate big man who can punish teams that don't respect the interior. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button because we're breaking down every Raptors game with this level of detail. RJ Barrett, 22 points, 9 of 1-7 shooting, 3 3-pointers. And here's what makes this even more impressive. Barrett had gone 0 for 1-2 from 3-point range over his previous few games, 0 for 12. And what does he do? He comes out and drills 3 triples in a crucial road game. This is the RJ Barrett we need, not the guy who settles for contested drives into help defenders, not the guy who gets frustrated when shots aren't falling. We need the RJ who attacks with resolve, who finds his spots, who makes defenses pay when they help off shooters. Barrett led the Raptors in scoring at halftime with his aggressive driving, and then in the third quarter, boom, he hits a 3-pointer to kick off a 9-0 run. That's big-time player behavior. That's stepping up when your team needs a momentum swing. Look, I've been critical of Barrett's shot selection at times. We all have. But when he's playing this efficiently, when he's mixing his drives with 3-point shooting, when he's making 9 of 1-7 shots in a road game, that's the player Toronto paid for. That's the player who can be a legitimate second or third option on a winning team. Question for Raptors Nation. Do you think RJ Barrett has finally turned the corner, or are you still waiting to see more consistency? Let me know in the comments. Here we go. The bench mob, the second unit, the group that has been carrying this team through early season struggles and continues to be the backbone of Toronto's success. Sandro Mamukelashvili, 12 points in 22 minutes. Colin Murray-Boyles, 10 points in just 17 minutes. Grady Dick adding crucial buckets. Jamal Shed bringing energy. This bench unit went on their customary run in the first quarter, turning a deficit into a lead and setting the tone for the entire game. Mamu was a live wire on offense, shooting, driving, creating. He's been the surprise of the season, and every time he checks in, you can feel the energy shift. Murray-Boyles? The rookie is playing with confidence. He's running the floor. He's finishing lobs. He's playing like a guy who belongs in an NBA rotation. Here's what I love about this bench unit. They don't just maintain leads, they build them. When the starters were struggling in the first quarter, going -8 inches their first half minutes, the bench came in and absolutely dominated. That's championship level depth right there. And here's the precedent I want you to remember. The 2014 San Antonio Spurs. You know, the team that demolished the Miami Heat in the finals? They did it with depth. They did it with balanced scoring. They had 7 guys who could go for 15 to 20 on any given night. Sound familiar? That's exactly what the Raptors are building here. If you're loving this analysis, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The starting lineup question that's been haunting this team all season long. Coming into Saturday's game, the Raptors starting 5 was barely above water at plus 1.3 per 100 possessions. They struggled early again against Indiana, going -8 inches their first half minutes. The spacing issues were real. Teams were sagging off Scotty Barnes and Poeltl, packing the paint, and making life miserable for Barrett and Quickly. But here's what changed in the second half. The starters found R.H. Wytham. They started the third quarter on a 9-0 run. Poeltl and Barnes got easy buckets. Barrett hit a 3. Suddenly, the offense was flowing instead of forcing. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend the starting lineup problems are completely solved. They're not. Scotty Barnes went 0 for 4 inches the first half and only finished with 14 points. The spacing is still a concern. But when you have a bench that can carry you through tough stretches and your starters can deliver when it matters, that's a formula. The Raptors desperately need this starting lineup to play more minutes together, not just to gel, but to gather data for future team-building decisions. Coach Darko Rajakovic is in a tough spot. He knows the bench units are killing teams, but he also knows you can't just bench your highest-paid players and expect no consequences. What do you think Raptors Nation should do? Should they keep experimenting with the starting 5, or should they ride with what's working? Comment below. Let's give credit where credit is due. Pascal Siakam dropped 30 points on his former team. 30, 5 3-pointers. The man was doing everything he could to keep the Pacers in this game. But here's the brutal truth. It wasn't enough. Not even close. Andrew Nembhard added 22 points. And that was basically IT for Indiana. They had just 2 regular starters in the lineup due to injuries. They're 1-12. They're dealing with the worst 13-game start in franchise history. This is the same Pacers team that went to the NBA Finals just last year. Let me repeat that. Finals appearance in 2024, and now they're 112 inches 2025. That's catastrophic. That's organizational failure. And yes, injuries are a huge part of it, but at some point you have to ask, where's the depth? Where's the coaching adjustments? Where's the fight? Pascal Siakam deserves better than this. The man is putting up 30-point performances and losing by 18. That's not championship basketball. That's not even competitive basketball. And you know what? It makes me appreciate what the Raptors have built even more. We have depth. We have balance. We have a system that doesn't rely on one player having a superhuman night just to keep it close. 4 wins and 1 loss on a 5-game road trip. The Raptors are now 6-3 on the road and 8-5 overall. Let me say that again for the people in the back. 6-3 on the road. Do you know how rare it is for teams to play better on the road than at home? It's difficult. Road games are supposed to be brutal, hostile crowds, travel fatigue, unfamiliar rims, and yet the Raptors are thriving in enemy territory. This tells me everything about the mentality of this team. They're not getting rattled by tough environments. They're not folding when things get hard. They're embracing the challenge and coming out on top. And here's the best part. The schedule ahead is relatively soft. No disrespect to our upcoming opponents, but the Raptors have a golden opportunity to stack wins over the next few weeks. This is where you build momentum. This is where you separate yourself from the pack. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our coverage as the Raptors keep this hot streak rolling. Let's talk numbers, because the stats from this game are absolutely wild. The Raptors shot 48-87 from the field, 55% shooting. The Pacers, 37-8, 743%. Toronto hit 23 three-pointers. They dominated the paint with 78 points compared to Indiana's 38, 78-38. That's not a typo, that's domination. The Raptors had 46 rebounds to Indiana's 40. They had 28 assists to Indiana's 22. They had fewer turnovers. They outscored them in fast break points. They won every statistical category that matters. This is what a complete performance looks like. This is what happens when your game plan is executed to perfection. This is what happens when 7 players are contributing and nobody can be game planned out of effectiveness. Here's a question for you. When's the last time you saw the Raptors this dominant in all facets of the game? Comment below. 7 wins in their last 8 games. 7-8. After starting the season 1-4, the Raptors have gone on an absolute tear. This is the kind of momentum that can carry a team through an entire season. I'm not saying the Raptors are championship contenders. Let's be realistic. But what I am saying is that this team is dangerous. When you have this much depth, this much balance, this much chemistry building, you can beat anybody on any given night. The Celtics learned that. The Bucks learned that. And now the Pacers got absolutely demolished by it. Teams around the league are starting to take notice. The Raptors aren't a pushover anymore. They're not a team you can overlook. And that momentum, that confidence that comes from winning 7 of 8, that's invaluable. You can't buy that. You can't coach that. You have to earn it through hard-fought victories and consistent effort. So here we are, Raptors Nation. 8 wins and 5 losses. A 4-1 road trip. A complete demolition of the Indiana Pacers with 7 players in double figures. Barrett and Jakob Poeltl with 22 points each. A bench mob that refuses to quit. And a starting lineup that's slowly finding its identity. Is this team perfect? No. Are there still questions to answer about spacing and fit? Absolutely. But you know what? When you can go into an opponent's building and win by 18 points with this kind of balanced attack, that's special. The Pacers are 1-12 and going through hell right now. Meanwhile, the Raptors are thriving. They're building chemistry. They're stacking wins. They're proving that depth and balance can overcome individual star power. Here's my final question for Raptors Nation. If the Raptors keep playing like this, 7 guys in double figures, dominant defense, balanced attacks, how far can this team go? Are we looking at a playoff team? are we looking at a team that could make noise in the postseason? Drop your predictions in the comments below. Tell me what you think about this balanced scoring approach. And if you believe in what the Raptors are building, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss our breakdown of Raptors excellence. Keep repping that red and black Raptors nation. Balance over heroes, depth over stars. We the North. Quick Court signing off.